check this out. Beautiful waterfall right here. Awesome textures. And then you've got this rainbow that's going along the left side. And right now I've got the 28 to 200 millimeter. For a situation like this where it would be a really bad idea to switch the lens, having a nice versatile lens was really key for me. And you can see I've got my CPL on here that's completely smudged up. So I think instead of using this, I'll probably have to take it off. But amazing, really amazing conditions right now. So I'm playing around with some different variations here, trying to get some of the texture of the falls and then some of these little streams with the rainbow that keeps filtering in and out. And as far as my settings go here, I'm mainly just doing this handheld, ISO 500, and making sure I have enough shutter speed to compensate. Wow, look at that. That is so cool.
Alright, so here's my first test shot of that beautiful rainbow spectrum at the bottom of the falls. This one was taken at 200 millimeters, and I really wanted to showcase the simplicity here. But perhaps this composition is almost too simple. When I looked at the back of the viewfinder, I realized there wasn't enough happening here to make for a really compelling composition. But there were elements of the shot that I really liked. For example, the rainbow and some of the texture that was created by the spray. So I decided to pull back my focal length, and then I shot this. So this photo taken at 100 millimeters had a lot more action. I loved the inclusion of some of the waterfalls on the left side and how much more structured the rainbow became here. The brightest rock on the right side almost resembles some kind of cauldron. And then if you look on the top right, to me it almost looks like the head of a parrot or maybe some kind of parrot statue. So I thought what would be really cool is to focus in on that section of the photograph and see if I could make it look like the rainbow was coming out of the cauldron. I had to shift my perspective a bit to get that rainbow in the perfect position, but I felt like this one really highlighted that cauldron shape and the very strange face on the right side. My favorite part about taking images like this is how many unique stories you can create through your photography. Highlighting subjects as something different from what they actually are and creating fantasy through those images is one of my favorite things to do.
So when it comes to shooting waterfalls, one of the most challenging things for me is just keeping the camera dry, especially when you have this much mist. I mean, when I was shooting up there, within like a few seconds, my camera was totally soaked. It looks like I had put the camera, in the shower. This is my favorite tool for keeping the camera lens dry is this blower right here. And I like to come from the side, go like this on the lens, just get the water drops off. The nice thing about these things is it's not gonna smudge the lens, whereas if you use a cloth, it can sometimes smudge and cause some issues.
As somebody who likes to make videos, I'm not just looking for photographs, I'm oftentimes looking for cinematic moments I can capture. So at this spot, I decided to switch over to 120 frames per second so I could get the rainbow in slow motion, and some of the results were mesmerizing.
It's incredible the way the rainbow is filtering through here. Like, I just love the way the spray is making these little waves down there at the bottom of the falls. There's some really nice dappled light in here as well. Like, if you can see right here, you've got these nice bits of shadow and then these beautiful spotlit areas of the waterfall. And as that light shifts and changes, different parts of the waterfall are revealed. I think I'm gonna grab another filter for this and then do a long exposure and see how the long exposure shifts the composition a bit. And especially maybe right in there, a long exposure could look really beautiful. Really amazing out here, especially on a hot day. There's nothing better than a hot day, and then you end up at the waterfalls and you've got this cool mist hitting you. rainbows, textures. I mean, as a landscape photographer, you really can't ask for much more. When it comes to shooting this type of waterfall photography, I really like to play around with shutter speed. So changing the amount of time I'm allowing that shutter to be open to show different movement in the water. So there might be the occasion where I want to show a long exposure and really blur out and simplify the water. And then there's other situations where it calls for a shorter exposure, and you can freeze the water in midair and show all of the texture. I think both work for different situations, but I'd be curious to hear from you. When you shoot water, whether it's on the coast or waterfalls, do you tend to gravitate more towards the long exposure look or the short interval look? Please let me know in the comments. All right, so I think it's worth trying this long exposure of the waterfall here. I just love the lighting right now too. When you're shooting rainbows, one thing to think about is if you want to move the position of the rainbow, you yourself need to move into that position. So if I want to change the position of the rainbow, I can move down the trail or up the trail and change where that rainbow will appear in the shot. The problem is, depending on where you move, you might actually lose the rainbow. But, you know, that's something to play around with when you're out in field. All right. Got my beautiful rainbow out there. I think I'm gonna try this as a horizontal and maybe just crop vertical if needed. There's just so much mist that I'm gonna end up fogging up the lens pretty fast here. So I'm gonna switch to f18, ISO 100. I'm gonna pull my shutter speed down to do long exposure. Maybe also set it to a timer mode.
Here's how that long exposure turned out. Definitely a completely different look from the handheld shots. Getting rid of the texture here simplified the water and the rainbow, and overall it gave the image a very painterly look.
I really want to get that rainbow, but the problem is the mist is shifting every 5 seconds. All right, well, let's try and go down real quick and see what it looks like. It might be too misty for us to even take a picture, honestly. But you know what? Let's try. We're here, right? Why not? Let me try and take this off. Oh, that's the stuff right there. Look at that. Wow. Trying hard not to slip on all this mud. It's super duper muddy right here, which is to be expected when you're getting right up to a waterfall. Look at the rainbow in there. Wow. Oh. It's so good. There are seriously few things that I enjoy more in life than this right here. If you decide you want to go travel to some waterfalls, I highly recommend getting right under the waterfall because it is just the best.
So the day beforehand, I visited a massive waterfall in southern Oregon, and I really wanted to show you what I captured on that adventure. I love isolating the waterfalls and then freezing the water in mid-air with a very fast shutter speed. It's always fun seeing what different shapes you can create, and each time you click the shutter you can get unique results. This image specifically was shot at about 175mm, and I'm using my handheld technique with a high ISO to compensate for the fast shutter speed. One of the best things about shooting waterfalls is they're oftentimes in such beautiful areas, so it's important to look around and see what else looks interesting besides just the falls. So in this case, I had a lot of fun playing around with the different layers of trees perched across these giant rolling hills. Here's an image of the forest taken during a rainstorm, and there was a little bit of light shining through, backlighting all of the water. So by using a super high shutter speed, I was able to freeze everything in midair, and it gave the image a really cool textured look.
Well, the rainbow has kind of disappeared, and the shadow is starting to come through, light starting to fade. So I think it's time to wrap it up. But what an amazing experience that was. That's something I've been trying to think about more and more with my photography. Sometimes it's so easy to get wrapped up in getting the shot, but just being in this incredible place, witnessing just what Mother Nature has to offer. And the surprises like the rainbow, I had no clue there was going to be a rainbow. Little light rays popping through the trees. I mean, that's really what this is all about. Even if the shots that I share on the screen don't turn out nice, I really hope you enjoyed, sharing this experience with me. And yeah, with that, really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one.